Dirty Scrap Podcast.
Hi, Krista. How are you? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fine. And thank you for being here with us to make the time to be part of Dirty Scrap, the aluminum podcast. I really appreciate it. And how you been?
Busy, but good.
Okay, busy is good. Busy is good.
Busy is good. Busy is
Right?
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And today I want to start with like a very brief introduction. I know your background is on the business administration and management and operations, but also you be part of the scrap recycling industry for like forever, right?
For most of my life, yes.
Right? Yeah, because as far as I know, this company, your company, is a family-owned company, right? And I know you have a lot of experience on the metal scrap recycling, and now you are president and CFO of Heavyweight. That is the name of your company, right? So for me, it's like very excited to have a woman that is in this industry that is not it's a very manhood industry, right? And I'm seeing a lot of women coming more and more into this industry. Yeah. So it's really, really excited to having you here in this podcast, because at the end, the idea of this podcast and this platform is to show the people on the aluminum recycling industry, but right now it's moving to every recycling industry and sustainable approaches of every industry, that we can show them the people that is doing the hard work out there and what is the perspective, the point of views, and everything that we can, talk about it. So again, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully my introduction is quite, accurate.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, my pleasure. So, Krista, first of all, how you get involved into this industry? Tell me more about your background. I know you are in Connecticut,
Yes.
Nice city. So tell me about your background, how you grew up into this industry, and how you've been, getting more and more involved.
Right. So, again, thank you for having me. I would say that, and I've always said this, when you ask people in the recycling industry, how did you get here? I was born into it, or they got here by accident. So, for me, I was born into it, and what started as a side hustle, if you will, for my dad back in the late 70s. He actually left his full-time job and committed to starting the company, he and my mother, back in 1981. And so I was 7 years old, and it was just part of what we did. And if you wanted to spend time with him, you went to work with him. So it was something that he cleaned out factories, and it has evolved over the years. And that was our primary company, which, like I said, we've evolved into what we do now is we are dedicated to utility metal recycling. So we service utilities in this New England area with various different metal recycling. We have a few other programs for recycling of like porcelain insulators and different things that they have in their daily operations to make sure that we can help maximize their investment recovery. And 3 years ago, an opportunity came about where I purchased an existing family run for over 50 years yard in Plainville, Connecticut, and that is H.W. Green. So my husband and I are running that. And so I split my time between the two companies, which can be a little bit chaotic, but it's shown such an incredible different perspective of the scrap industry. And because there we have small industrials, we are open to the public and have an over the scale business. We have large industrial accounts and commercial accounts as well. So we have been working tirelessly for the past 3 years, just building the infrastructure and kind of making that facility the best it can be. So that is a work in progress. And our growth and our plans and projections there are really incredible. We're very fortunate. We have a great community around us, and it's part of. I think these past few years have really been so much opportunity has become available for us in the recycling industry to show ourselves in a different light, to be seen in a different light, and to really start. I see the trickling of to starting having a seat at those tables where important policies are being decided upon, and there's just more of an awareness, I feel, for how essential all of our operations are. And it's not any longer, completely viewed as, oh, it's a dirty industry, or we're, part of the environmental stressors. We're actually part of the solution. And that's an important role that I think all of us in this industry, regardless of what our commodities might be, need to really harness that and embrace that.
Let me ask you something, because you are talking about something that I is fascinated to me, because yes, you're totally right. The scrap yards, the recycling industry used to be like that dirty industry that no one wants to go there. And not even with children's, right? I am seeing more and more activities trying to say, hey, children's, just go there, understand the business. You can make money out of the business, but also is a really, let's say, good part of the foundation of the US and the global economy. Now, saying that, I have two questions. First one is, how a very busy woman like you can also be volunteer and participate in so many different things like ReMA and all this stuff.
Right.
How do you manage your time? And you're a mom as well, right?
I am a mother of, I have 4 boys,
Oh, wow.
and at various different times, they all participate. One works for us full time, and 2 are younger, but that's where you'll find us on a Saturday morning for sure. But I would say that's the biggest challenge. When I was thinking about this and, thinking about the podcast and coming on and talking with you, that is my biggest challenge, is the juggle. We can't say that it doesn't exist, because it absolutely exists, but
Right.
you kind of have to, for me personally, I have to decide where I'm going to put my energy, because your time, you're devoting, your time is such a precious resource.
Oh, yeah.
And in order to get the things done, you have to prioritize that. And you have to be able to pivot and shift all the time. So what your list was at the start of the day at 5 a.m. may not be what the list looks like by 3 p.m. But you have to be able to give yourself a little bit of grace and pivot to adjust those priorities as things become more imminent, or something changes throughout the day. But my participation in ReMA has been a wonderful experience. I think that the rebrand comes at such an important time for all of us in the industry. And I think that they're doing a great job in making all of the information more accessible. I know I'm serving with Andrew Cooley, who is incredible, on the communications committee. And all of our leadership, they really have been very welcoming to me, because although we were members for many years, I didn't actually get involved until 2 years ago in joining the New England chapter board.
Oh, really? After all these years in the industry?
After all these years, yes.
Wow.
When I took over HW Green, that was when there was just a major shift, being a retail yard, being more visible. That was when I started to participate and kind of lean on what is available to us as smaller companies through ReMA, which is something I think that can't be understated, because if you're a smaller footprint of a company, even us with 2 companies, and we have 50 plus employees between the 2 facilities, we don't have a full-time staff for all of the different roles and the different resources that I have drawn upon through our membership with ReMA. And now I'm more aware of those benefits, being that I volunteer and I participate in, at the chapter level and even at the national level.
Oh, wow.
And the relationships have been tremendous. Even if you just have a question, we talk about this all the time in the recycling industry. There's such a strong component of family businesses, of relationships, long-standing relationships, even those with our employees. We have multi-generational, sometimes, employees as part of our staffs, as recycling companies. And that speaks volumes to what we see throughout companies, both globally and, in the United States, that so many people stay a year, jump 2 years. And we're very fortunate that we build relationships and foster those relationships through events, and there has become an overwhelming sense of sharing information. I've noticed in the past few years that I participated in this, where the yards aren't all closed up and everything's not a secret anymore, and we're kind of sharing best practices for safety and operations and equipment and things like that. And I find that to be very positive as well.
Right. And do you think out there is still so many different small companies that are not aware or part of these associations?
Yes, I think so. And I think there's for the rebrand and the excitement that surrounds it, and really the message that's being put out there. I would love to add that membership is important, and there is value in the membership, and to be part of this community.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. I am a member as well. And I had Robin, the president, let's say 2 weeks before we went to the E3 show to Las Vegas, and, spend all this time there with people. And that was the show that they released the new logo and rebranding and everything, and was a huge event. And I think they are doing a great job. Now, I want to back up a little bit. How was growing into this industry, because I can see that the industry is changing a lot and very fast, right? And you just say it. I mean, this industry is becoming something that more important, and the way we are looking into this industry, it's a totally different approach, not dirty, more like, okay, sustainable. And this is something that we want to our children to really make part of it. How was growing in this industry, and how this, let's say, experience help you to keep moving the industry like as a family industry? Because at the end, the problem with the industry that being family owned, right? Some companies, at the end, some people or some let's say the people of the family, they don't want to get involved for some reasons, right? Because maybe the parents are taking too much time to spend in the company and with the family. How was growing in this type of industry, and how this experience help you to manage how to involve your family into the business?
Well, I think that part of it is being able to, I don't want to say separate, because I've said this to my children, is that this is a lifestyle. This is not some place where we punch in and we punch out. This is a lifestyle. This is just part of our fabric of who we are. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to do this every day, because for me, this is not just, there's a lot of words people use sustainable now all the time. It's such a big buzzword. But this is the cornerstone of being a circular economy, making it as resilient as we can. And it is important. All of the new infrastructure that we see, clean energy and things like that, at the end of the day, we're going to have to recycle those components. So for my family, and the next generations, I would hope, as we send them out, and I kind of do have a rule: you have to go out, work for somebody else for a certain period of time. And if you choose this because you have that conviction, then I'll be thrilled. And that's a hard thing, because they work for us, coming up, summer job, things like that. But at the end, if they choose this, then that just adds to how multi-generational we will be. And even just some of the employees and the longstanding people that we've had, and the important people that we add to the team, they have that passion for the industry and to make it better. And we need to, as businesses, there's so many different things as a business owner. You need to understand the governance and technology and your community involvement and, and things like that. Your HR, to make sure that you're doing your best for, all of the people on the team. And so with the technology, as my kids will come up through the ranks, they'll have a different perspective on all the things I maybe don't know. And I have a different perspective on the things that my father, didn't have, when he first started things. The landscape looks very, very different, and it's changing rapidly. So when you say about the challenges of the family business, it is, but we have to all be open to what each of us brings to the table, both the knowledge, the tribal knowledge, and a new perspective, based off of, how they're being educated now, and how to utilize the combination, thread those things together to be the best business that we can be, and to be the best community member that we can be, because it is our responsibility to lead by example, regardless of the size of our business. And that's one thing that I've really thought a lot about this past year. We're never going to be perhaps a huge global company with thousands of employees, which you can start where you are. Whatever the size of your company, whatever your footprint is, you start where you are and you make the impact around you, and you lead by example. And I hope that that is ultimately what we're able to accomplish.
Right. Yes. And this is, remember this quote that you need to be the change that you want to see out there, right? At the end, it's like that. And I can see, so what you are saying is, okay, in order to keep the family into the business, you need to be, first of all, very open mind, because you need to understand that the old ways to do it is different now, and the future ways is going to be way different than the way that you are using right now. Also, you are involving your kids into the company, but also you are let them, fly. And I think when you have kids, you need to build solid roots, but also solid wings, so they can fly with good foundations, right?
Right.
How been this industry changing through the years to your eyes? Because you've been in the industry for a long time, and you already said it's a lifestyle, right? It's not just a job. Because for a job, you can just go and work for another company and that's it. You make a salary and boom. But being part of a family owner or company is not easy, because it's a lifestyle. How that lifestyle is being changing through the years since you were like 6 years old to now? Is changing a lot? Yeah, definitely. Right.
It has. And just even operationally, we talk about the equipment changing, as opposed to how certain things used to be processed. Even you, in your knowledge with all the changes in the aluminum industry and even in steel production, and how the recycling industry is really pushing to make ourselves more efficient and to make ourselves cleaner in these operations, and to kind of really contribute to that landscape for being environmentally aware and conscious through technology. And I mean, we're constantly developing and improving, and trying to find those best practices to complete what we do as far as that ecosystem. We're part of so many different things, the manufacturers and just working that way. And now I see too a shift where, even for my customers, years ago, we were metal recyclers. You had a scrapyard. That was it. And you didn't look at the other commodities. You didn't think about the other commodities. And now, as part of some of the services that for us, even with our company, we're looking at, okay, so our customers may have cardboard, and our customers may have, in the utility world, wooden reels, or the other thing, porcelain insulators. So there's other commodities, and there's other things that go along with that maybe they need help with. And so that's something that I really have seen changing, where we're looking at it more as a holistic offering to brainstorm and troubleshoot, and be able to, even if we don't process those items and recycle those items, perhaps in our network and through ReMA, we can bridge that gap. So I see that as something that has evolved over time as well. And that's very exciting to look at those, sustainable practices, and just looking at it more as a whole, as opposed to just metal recycling.
Right. At the end, circular economy, I think, is based on that, right? Make it global. Don't stay just in one point, because at the end, you can bring more to the table if you understand that out there you have a lot of different things that you really can help, even, as you just said, if you are not doing the process, but someone into your network will do whatever it takes, or they have the the resources to help on that direction. So what is changing right now, according to what you just said, is okay, technology approaches, be more clean, being more aware of sustainable point of views, better practices. How easy is to implement those changes right now? Because I understand that is, I mean, huge investments in
A lot.
technology, but also you need to have the right people to understand that this is changing and they need to change with the trend. How easy is to go in that direction? Implementation is not so easy.
Right. The ideas are easy, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
everybody, we all have these great ideas. It's actually making the steps, and it's building the platform in order
right,
to reach that goal. And I think that, having just the idea and the goal, the hardest part is to start. I say that to my kids all the time, whether it's homework, whether it's, a new initiative at work, whether it's, your annual budgeting, whatever it may be. The hardest part is to start. And I have
why?
found that once you start, because that's what the intimidating part is, the thought of,
Right,
oh my goodness, how am I going to get there? But I think that taking small steps, moving forward in some direction, and maybe you're not going to end up in that direction, but that's okay. You started. You may have to figure out some of the things by trial and error. And another thing that I truly believe in is dream big. Why not you? Why
right,
not your company? Why not? Somebody is going to seize an opportunity. Somebody is going to end up with that. Why not you?
right,
And why not your organization? And sometimes when you have ideas and you think, well, I don't know that I could do like that. But I think it's a good idea. You surprise yourself sometimes that maybe other people identify with that, or maybe other people will follow suit if you, like I said earlier, lead by example. And
right,
so that I have found, I've surprised myself a few times. But you have to build the pathway for the basic implementation at your own organization. You absolutely have to build the pathway. And sometimes it takes a lot of repetition and a leap of faith here and there, and getting your team really on board. And if you don't believe in the things that you're asking others to do, it's not going to work. I think that's what is important, is that you have to really have your own conviction
right.
to the policies you're putting in place, to the infrastructure that you're working on. And if you don't have that, other people really aren't going to be able to have that buy-in.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally agree. And I love this approach. I've been talking with my wife about this because for her, for example, is, oh, I need to be 100% ready to move forward. And I said, you're never 100% ready in any,
Right.
I mean, you
Right.
cannot spend too much time trying to be ready because you won't. You need to just move ahead, small steps, and then you will prepare yourself on every step. And this is something that I always say to the people is, we live in a benevolent universe, and the universe know how we need, or what we need in a specific point of our life, that we are begging for something, and maybe that's not what we need, is what we want. So the universe give us that, but in a different way. For example, if you have clever parents, and if you ask for an ice cream, they will give you fruit because you want an ice cream, but it's not what you need.
Right.
Now, saying that, and I love this approach, how your kids receive that information and implement it in the life, and in the industrial, on the industrial side, is easier for them to start something new in a family company that been doing things pretty much, let's say, the same way for several years.
I would have to say that I've gotten a lot of support over the years, and even at the new facility in Plainville. And my husband is very supportive as far as that's concerned, and all of my crazy ideas, because I can remember the first time I walked to that yard, and it was in February of 2020, and I left and I said, we have to do this. We have to do this. And this was a huge leap for all of us. And it was a family discussion because I knew what a commitment it was going to be. But when I hope that my children always feel that they can come with a new idea and we're going to talk it out. We may not implement that idea, but we're going to go through it and go through the detail of it. And I think that fostering those thoughts and that anything is possible. I hope that they've seen my husband and I do that over the years. And when you get that new piece of equipment, or, in the next few months, we're going to be putting in new scales and things. And when the projects are complete and we see the fruits of our labor, we're realizing those ideas. And we maybe didn't go with his path, but we didn't go with mine, but there was some sort of a compromise in the middle. And we foster that with our employees as well. I tell them when they start, if you have an idea, bring the idea. We may not always be able to execute that, but that conversation, that brainstorming, both with people within your organization, within your family, and within this recycled materials community, I think is extremely beneficial, and it fosters mental growth. And we all need that, because we will be having to adapt to a lot of different scenarios and circumstances as this whole global initiative and recycling as it expands. So I think that it's important just to really be a good listener, as opposed to always thinking, no, we have to follow this path. So I think that's valuable.
How easy is to work with your husband? Because you always heard, don't make business with family or friends.
Yep.
That I'm not agree. Yep. I think if I can make business with my brother, that is the guy that I know like forever, why not, right? It make more sense than to make business with someone you don't know. Mm-hmm. But some of the people, or a lot of the people say, hey, don't do it. How easy is to work with your husband?
So I work actually with my father, my brother, my husband, and so, yes, we all between the two companies, at the one company, at Heavyweight, I work with my brother and my father, and we have a team here. And then at HW Green, I work with my husband. And I will not say that it does not come without challenges. But the level of trust and commitment is steadfast. So we didn't start out working together. He worked for his family business and then came on board when we put in a chopping line. And I said to him, I want to say it was about 12 years ago. And I said, just a few weeks, just come and help us for a few weeks, because he's extremely mechanically inclined.
And then years later.
And 12 years later, so we joke that I took him off of a farm and I put him in a scrapyard. But he's a patient soul, and extremely talented. So I will say that for us, it worked. And we each have another important thing is we each have our own role. I have an utmost respect for the components of this industry, this job that are not in my realm. I do think it important, though, to not just say that's not my job. I try to learn those aspects, whether it be about equipment or whether it be about the operations, or, just even in the layout of, as we're building infrastructure for our facilities. It is my responsibility to know about those things, even if that's something that he's stronger at than I am, so that I can speak to that. And I can participate in those discussions so that we kind of have that balance. So I think that that's important too, is respect each other's role, and that everybody, whether it be leadership in a company or not, every person is a piece to the puzzle. Every person in your organization, my drivers, my yard labor, my office staff. I could not do this without all of these people, and each and every one of them serves an important role. And you have to respect those roles.
I love this approach, because at the end you are competing against teams. You are not competing against one person, and you cannot grow if you are just trying to do everything by yourself.
No.
And it's impossible. Now, what are the technologies that you are seeing more often coming into this industry to change the industry for good?
Obviously, we're seeing a huge push in software. We're seeing a huge push for electric equipment and upgrades as far as that. To be able to have different sources for our buildings as far as, energy, and a lot of people are doing solar, and, there's even
Right.
fuel cells and things like that. So really being able to understand. I find that I'm trying to always read a lot about the pros and the cons of things like that. Because for us as recyclers, we will end up with these things. Look at the the EV car batteries and things like that, and so that has become a challenge for some of us. And I just would like to see more collaboration with us as our industries ahead of, as they're engineering these new technologies and new initiatives, because if they include us in those conversations on the front end, perhaps it wouldn't be such a heavy lift at the end of life for some of these things. And that, I think, is something that is just so important, that I haven't really seen that get to where I think all of us would like to be included in those conversations and in the planning stages of something. Design it to recycle it. We say that all the time. And really with the engineering community, because they're the designers, to include us in that, to say, could we use this alloy versus that, which would be better or more beneficial for the recycling practices, and to really have that in the forefront of everyone's mind. I think through education, that's very important. And we talk about looping in kids. We do a lot of outreach with schools, made recycling kits and recycling ID kits so that they could see all the everyday products, give them magnets. We invite the schools to come in. We even, as silly as it sounds, we were so happy. We hosted a local Daisy troop because they have an environmental badge that they get. And they reached out through our website, in our community in Plainville. And it was a proud moment, because that's what they associated our yard as, where they could get their recycling and their environmental badge. And as small as that seems, that's a trickle down effect of positioning our industry as a positive and as a benefit, and really educating the kids and their parents, because we take it for granted what we know about what we do every day. And most of the outlying population, all they know is the blue bin at the end of their driveway, and they have no idea where anything goes. So again, another thing to add to our list, but it is our responsibility to educate everyone around us as to how important it is, how they can participate, both on a personal level, at their companies. And you can't start out with a huge, overwhelming thing. You start out small, and you start out with what you can share, how people identify that in their everyday life. That's important, because they need to have it be real for them in order to grasp it and say, hey, what about this? What about this? What about that? So as the technology and social media, that's another aspect where things are changing all the time. Social media is a great tool for us as recyclers to get our message out there, to touch groups that we would never have been able to relay information to otherwise. So I find that that's also very, very helpful. As well.
And okay, so you just said that it is important to have those lobbies that will allow you to talk to the people that wants to implement whatever it is, whatever kind of technology or new processes for what we are seeing right now as a trend, the EVs or green buildings, that they require more, let's say, low CO2 emissions aluminum for the buildings, or EVs or aerospace. Are you guys in some point thinking about how you can prepare yourself for what is coming? And is those lobbies already exist, or is like ReMA or someone like them is, let's say, being like a bridge between what is happening out there and how you can implement those, let's say, technologies, or at least to try to understand the technologies for the next 5 or 10 years, because it's going to happen. And lithium batteries, let me say this, they are not easy. They are not easy to recycle, and it's going to be a huge challenge. So I'm seeing that United States is trying to move in that direction. The European market went through this years ago. So that's why we are seeing more and more European technology coming here, because they already know how to, let's say, make the circular economy more reliable from the technology point of view. But saying that, is there any lobby that is helping you guys to understand what is coming? And if it's not, from your point of view, how people can help to create this type of lobbies for you to be prepared for the future?
Well, I do think that ReMA is doing a great job being that bridge. They are, they're in Washington, D.C. We have the fly-in, even through our chapter, the various different chapters. There's a lot of exchange of information. There's a lot of committees and working groups that help us with, from workforce development to the sustainability committee that they have started, the ESG reporting, where they're giving us helpful framework and things like that. So I do see a lot of that available to us as members, and it is very helpful for small, medium, even some of the larger companies, I would think, and being able to exchange that information on A, what's out there, B, what the regulations are. We even have the governmental relations committee, and when laws come, I've been part of this a couple of times on our regional level, where there's different battery legislation, there's different stuff as far as your trucking and your freight and weights and things like that. So they really they've been doing a very good job to make us aware, loop us in, have us participate, and just raising that awareness of what is out there around us, and maybe giving us toolboxes for navigating next steps.
Right. And moving to a different topic, because for me, recycling industry is bigger than just the scrapyard, right? We have all the foundries and the cast houses, and I'm seeing more and more, let's say, merging activities between the scrapyard and the foundries. Are you seeing also this behavior? Because at the end, what the foundries are looking for right now is, I will say, 2 or 3 different things. First of all, obviously add more aluminum scrap into the process because they want to avoid primary because of the CO2 emissions, right? Now also they want to reduce the carbon footprint, and I will say that also they want to have more partnerships in order to control better the material, to have more high aluminum recoveries, right? Are you seeing this, for example, from your point of view, people that is coming and saying, oh, okay, this is the way that we want to work with you because of sorting, segregation, whatever it is any approach from those companies to your company happening?
I would say yes. It's interesting, and even in some of the copper markets and things like that. One of the gentlemen that I know, we've done business with him for a long time, and he said, it used to be that when you would tour people through your mill or what have you, that they didn't keep an amount of the scrap material visible because people didn't want to see that. And now in the last decade, that's what they want to see because of using more of the recycled materials as opposed to something with a higher emissions or carbon and things. And so definitely that has changed. And you're right. It's again, building relationship and putting your best product out there and making sure, I think the transparency is another thing that is improving and changing on all fronts. Transparency between us and maybe larger mill, or whether it even be for export or stay domestic, but then for us to our customers. There's no longer, this feeling of hiding things, and I feel like it's moving in a very positive direction. And, we put out a good product and make sure we're upgrading it for the customer, because that's not what they do. They're not in this industry. So that's our job to make sure that we're recycling to the best of our ability.
Right. And I think you're totally right. That's the approach that we need to have right now in this industry because it's growing. And the only way to grow is grow all together, right? Now, Krista, to wrap up this episode that I've been enjoying too much. So many things that we can take out of your, let's say, background, experience, and knowledge is always do the effort to start, dream big, have a role, have a good team, listen what is happening out there, because in If you do that, you can implement changes that will allow you to grow, have a really good relationships with the people. And now what we can expect from your side as a future, near future for the industry, what we can expect and where the people can reach out to you guys.
Well, I'm hoping as we are actually currently in the works, we're building, our 5-year plan of where we want to be and things that we want to implement. And I'm very optimistic about what the future holds, both for my companies and for our industry on the whole. I think that we have to all be as authentic as we can be. There's no way to do it otherwise. And we will continue to grow and serve. And I think I hope to be able to offer additional services like what we talked about, and really kind of I'm fascinated by the troubleshooting as a whole for our customers, and looking into more strategic partnerships with other commodity recyclers to be able to kind of offer that. And as always, my soapbox is education and involvement, albeit through ReMA. And I know our chapter is embarking on some exciting things with Jason Learning. And our chapter board is very robust and very supportive. So I'm excited for the next few years. I'm excited for the future.
Nice. Where the people can find you guys? Because I also like to use this platform for, that the people that is listening or watching this episode, that they can understand where the people like you that is working for the industry and putting a lot of effort, where they can find you.
Yep. I'm on LinkedIn. We have our websites for HW Green Company. So we're online. We have Facebook. We have things like that. And so yeah, any questions or anything, I'm always available for that, and to talk about the industry and how we can all work toward improvements and expanding and teaching everybody how essential we really are.
Well, Krista, thank you so much for your participation. I really appreciate it. It was an amazing episode that I had so much fun, and I learned a lot of different things. So really congratulations for all the things that you are doing right now for the industry. And again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dirty Scrap Podcast.